When did you first learn about Bitcoin?
I really got into crypto when we started getting debanked. The same people that were coming after us were going after all the crypto people. The same people that were shutting down our bank accounts were shutting down the crypto people's bank accounts, all because those people believed in a different, type of finance, a different way to move money. Think of Bitcoin. I mean, I think it's really important for people to kind of, zoom out. We have a company that literally can mine a product for roughly 50 cents on the dollar, right? So the spot price of Bitcoin right now is, 115,000 roughly, and we're mining it every single day for roughly 50% of that. Go talk to anybody who does copper. Go talk to anybody who does gold. Go talk to anybody who mines lead. Go talk to anybody who mines silver. Most of the time, they're actually mining at about par. And then they're using complicated options and financial kind of mechanisms to otherwise get, they're selling futures and all sorts of other things in order to make their profit. You also have a product that's limited, right? And I think it's the only commodity in the world, the only product, the asset class in the world that, can't grow. You've got 21 million Bitcoin, slightly less because some of it's been lost over time, but you have 21 million Bitcoin. If the cost of gold ever went up to $20,000 an ounce, I would break down this wall. There's concrete behind it, and we would extract gold from those columns because there's gold in, virtually everything, right? As price goes up, Elon will put a spaceship on Mars and he'll extract gold and the supply of gold will go up. That can never happen with Bitcoin, right? So it's this unbelievable asset, but it's global. It has immediate liquidity. Try walking through an airport with a gold bar, right? They're going to arrest you and they'll probably call the IRS, even if it's your own money. Around the world, it's become such a powerful tool, even maybe more so outside of the United States, in that you've got absolute government corruption all over the place. You've got massive inflation. I often use Zimbabwe because I've been there and I've seen it. But I mean, you had Zimbabwe, you had inflation that was going up 1,000% a year. You had inflation that was actually going up more than that during certain periods of time under Mugabe. I mean, imagine getting a paycheck. You work in Zimbabwe. The second you get the paycheck, it's gone. Set it on fire, it's gone. Now all of a sudden, with a basic phone, being able to connect to the internet, which virtually everybody has in the world now, you can buy an asset class that has 24-hour liquidity, that's global, that's incredibly in demand, that has a limited supply, that can never be taken from you, that can never be confiscated from you, that you can't get debanked, you can't be burned, it can't be taken out by a tornado or a hurricane. It's not subject to your little local branch that can be robbed. Bitcoin has become an unbelievable asset. Try and transfer money. We transfer a lot of money in because we're a very big company. Try and transfer money at 5:01 p.m. on a Friday afternoon. Yeah, through the SWIFT system, that money won't get to its intended recipient until, Monday afternoon, maybe Tuesday morning. Why isn't finance 24/7? Why isn't it immediate? Why is it that every bank in the world has to have their fingers in absolutely everything? If I want to go buy a watch out of Geneva, why do I have to transfer money from, Chase here or whoever the hell I bank with to Geneva? You have FX, currency exchange fees. The bank's going to have his finger in the transaction. Why? Why can't you just send me a link? A link to your wallet, and instantaneously you receive the funds at virtually no cost to move that money. And instantaneously, that watch is in a FedEx coming over to the other side of the
how
pond.
does this compare then to the dollar? Couldn't the dollar be digitalized in such a way that it could do the exact same thing?
It is being digitalized.
Right.
It's called stablecoins. But you're then betting on completely, you're betting on the dollar, right? I mean, Bitcoin is a store of value. It's digital gold, right? That's here. Stablecoins is obviously, digitizing, obviously a currency. It doesn't have to be the US dollar, but the vast majority of stablecoins is the US dollar. We have USD1, which is the fastest growing stablecoin on earth right now, and it's pegged 1-to-1 with treasuries off of the US dollar. And so there's no question that the SWIFT system is going to disappear. There's no question that finance is going to become 24/7. There's no question that you're going to have this DeFi atmosphere, using blockchain and smart contracts that can play a major role in the role that traditional finance is playing right now. If you have $1 million worth of assets, right, and they're in JP Morgan Chase, why are you going to JP Morgan Chase to ask them to give you financing? And why does that financing take you 120 days to get after going through paper contracts and know your customers while they have every skyscraper in every city around the world? Why can't you just go on there and say, I want to borrow against my money. I'm going to do this in a smart contract. And 3 seconds later, it's in your bank account, right? And that's what's going to happen to finance. We are on the 1 yard line to something incredible. I mean, listen, crypto and what we're doing, it's growing faster than the internet grew in the 90s, right? That's just a fact. When you look back in 5 years and 10 years, the entire financial landscape is going to be much different. And that's all because of cryptocurrency. And that's why I'm so damn excited about it. And I would have never gotten excited about it had it not been for this, had it not been for Siege, had it not been for debanking, had it not been for deplatforming and realizing that there are a couple people, sitting in their ivory towers that can control what you do, what I do, what all of us do. He's been on the receiving end of being deplatformed, all because he believed in industry that was the future of finance. And we've all been there. And I really believe it can never happen again based on the moves being made in crypto.
What does it mean to be debanked? Is that just something that happens overnight? You check your accounts, there's no money in it.
I'll give you an example. His is much more extreme, but
a really scary truth is just how vulnerable your digital life is, and most people have no idea until it's too late, and then they're stuck spending several hours trying to solve a problem that they did not create. So don't be like my roommate Kevin, because I kid you not, his identity got stolen 2 years ago, and guess who's still paying for it? Me. Because the one thing he still can't recover is his Venmo.
See, the trouble with identity theft and fraud is that it doesn't happen all at once. And by the time you notice, usually the damage is done.
And that's exactly where our sponsor, 𝗪𝗓𝗡, comes in. It catches problems early by keeping an eye on your identity, credit, financial accounts, and online activity altogether. And the best part is that setting it up only takes a few minutes, and then from there, it works quietly in the background all day, every day.
𝗪𝗓𝗡 monitors your credit activity, data breaches, and the dark web using AI-powered detection tools that are able to spot suspicious activity in real time. If it finds something unusual, you get an alert that tells you exactly what happened and the next steps to take.
You can lock your credit, secure all of your accounts, and fight fraud with just one click. If identity theft does occur, 𝗪𝗓𝗡 connects you with US-based specialists to restore your identity and handle the damage with up to $2 million in identity theft insurance.
So head on over to 𝗪𝗓𝗡.com/iced to get 50% off of your first month and see for yourself if your information's actually secure.
Seriously, guys, the peace of mind is worth it. Protect your credit, identity, and online data today. Again, that is 50% off your first month at 𝗪𝗓𝗡.com/iced. What does it mean to be debanked?
I'll give you an example. His is much more extreme, but we started the company. We were young entrepreneurs, just raised our Series A, right? All of our money was in Bank of America, all in one bank account. We were just starting the company. We didn't have a bunch of different bank accounts. And we get an email and said, your account is shut down. You'll receive a check in the mail in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And we just said, what?
4 to 6 weeks.
We have to pay bills. We have to pay employees. We have to pay our vendors. We raised the money to go buy equipment, to go build a facility. And so we had this period of time where people said, do you actually even have money? Are you a real company or not? We're like, we do. We just don't know it's in the ether.
Who decides that at Bank of America?
It's crazy because you go into the branch and you say, where is my account? And they look it up and they say, it doesn't exist. We can't help you here. And
but then what does that escalate into? You say, okay, well,
you literally just wait and check the mailbox
every single day. There's no person you can contact.
It's insane. You go into the branch, you're not in the system anymore.
So who's making that decision then?
Bureaucrats. People who can hate you because you believe in something that they don't, which is exactly what's happening to us.
So you were posing as competition for Bank of America, I'm guessing.
I think it was just because we weren't even buying Bitcoin. We were in the business of buying equipment that were building data centers to support the Bitcoin ecosystem.
So imagine getting a call in the middle of the night. I did. In fact, I got a letter in the middle of the night. I got it from Capital One. I got it from all the banks, but the biggest one was Capital One by far. Eric, your accounts are all shut down. Right? Where you give you a couple of days to migrate your accounts, but they're all shut down. Now, think about a company like ours where you have some of the biggest commercial buildings in the world, some of the biggest hotels in the world, where you have thousands of vendors, thousands of tenants. You've got lockbox provisions in loan documents, right? Where, money has to flow in and out of certain accounts, right? So, mortgages can be paid first after taxes and everything else, and then they can waterfall. You've got ACH payments coming in from every direction. You've got real estate taxes. You've got hundreds of employees. You've got every cost imaginable, right? Thousands of inputs. This isn't a personal account where you pay a credit card out of and you pay, a couple homeowner bills. You have thousands and thousands of inputs. And then you take that and you spread that out to 300 accounts that all have that scenario, that all have that Christmas tree. And they call you up saying, congratulations, you're done, you're closed. Or you give you a couple days, the accounts are closed, go somewhere else. Right. They wanted to take the rails out from under us. Right. They wanted to see us bankrupt. They wanted to see us gone. They didn't want us to be able to, to conduct normal business. These are for condominium associations. These are for golf courses.
And who's they? Who do you think it is?
Well, I mean, two things. In a lot of cases, it was the actual bank and the higher ups in the bank who simply didn't agree with "Let's make America great again," right? And they weren't wearing the red hat, and they didn't like my father's political views and the fact that I was standing on that stage. So they assert them, and then I think in a lot of cases it was. Well, it's not that I think I know. It was government regulators going in, and they happened to flip to page 17 or whatever the hell page it was. Oh, interesting. You have the Trump organization. I'd be very careful doing business with them because we're the regulators, and we will start looking. I can't tell you how many of my friends ran big banks, and they were shaken down by the government saying, "I hear you bank Trump, and you better not do that anymore." Guys, this is real world stuff. This isn't make believe. This isn't, and I would have never believed it could have happened in the United States of America if it didn't happen to me, right? If I didn't see assets that had no affiliation with politics shut down in the middle of the night for no reason whatsoever other than political affiliation.
What banks shut you down?
Oh, let's start. Capital One, Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, First Republic. First Republic was big, right? And then about 12 others behind then. But beyond those, I'd say just about every major financial institution in the country. But then you had the Aon Insurances of the world. Then you had the Shopifys of the world. I'll never forget, all our e-commerce platform for Trump was on Shopify at the time. And congratulations, you're hereby closed. Why? Like, why are we closed? Because we're selling golf polos to say Trump National Golf Course on it, right? And that's when you realize that there's nothing that can be done in that world that can't be done better on blockchain. Guess what? You're using smart contracts. They can't do that to you.
How is your relationship now with those banks?
Well, they all kiss our ass. I mean, what do you think they would do now? How many of them have come back to me and licked their wounds?
And how does that look like? Do they just apologize? Do they ever give you a reason?
Yes, normally, we very much, Eric, it's so great to see you again. You run into them at cocktail party or a lot of times they'll reach out to you and, we really like to bring the teams back together. You really have an amazing company. We're really proud of everything that you've been able to accomplish. And I'm sitting there gritting my teeth saying, you dirty, I can't say it on the podcast but you can only imagine my anger when I had hundreds of employees who didn't sleep for months on end, as we're working on Hail Mary after Hail Mary to try and find every little small regional bank, who, by the way, loved our accounts, right? Because of the value of them, after being thrown off for dogs for doing absolutely nothing wrong.
Could you ever talk to him and be like, hey, man, let's just go off to the side. What happened? Like, who told you this?
Yeah, but my conversations aren't, I think the conversation you would have is probably exponentially nicer than the conversation that I would have, right? And I think maybe that's a little bit of bitterness over what happened.
Sure.
And you'd probably be in the same seat if they did the same thing to you.
What's funny, my Bank of America account was shut down. This is back in 2020. Yeah. And my theory, and I've had this account, by the way, for 15 years, and I had a mortgage with Bank of America. And my theory was that I had too much money going in the account, that it flagged it. And they gave me, thankfully, 60 days. They said, after 60 days, we have to shut down your account.
That was very kind of them.
Yeah.
They didn't give you 60 days off.
But I had everything going into one account, but I think too much money was going in, and then I would transfer that to investments. And I think they saw big transfers in and out within 24 hours. So I guess it was that. I'm not sure. I never found out.
And they never tell you. Exactly.
It was a letter I got in the mail. I reached out and they say, oh, your account has been flagged for something. And I looked it up online. I couldn't find exactly what it was.
The employees at those banks, right? Obviously, on a smaller retail account, you probably don't have an exact account rep that just kind of owns you.
Mm-hmm.
I remember calling some of our account reps who would be crying, which is their entire livelihood was managing the Trump accounts at these various financial institutions, and they were gone. They were out of work. I mean, everything that, all our accounts were just closed down for no reason other than some call from above. It can't happen. It can't happen. And I'm proud to say I've held a lot of banks accountable. I was one of the first to start talking about this. Asher's the first one to say he's like, I never talked about this because I always found it embarrassing. And by the way, back in the day, I almost found it embarrassing too. How can you lose a bank account? We're a great business. We're one of the greatest real estate companies anywhere on earth. How the hell do you lose a bank account? It was almost like a mark of shame. And now, honestly, it's almost like a badge of honor that we fought through it. And I've held every single one of those banks accountable. And there's probably one that I'll sue next week. So, okay. But honestly, just to make the point, guys, it wasn't just us. They were doing this conservatives all across the country, right? Again, not back to this, but this whole concept of what I wrote about in Under Siege, they were coming after all of us. They weaponized the IRS against, churches, right? Against conservative causes. They weaponized every aspect of this system. The fact that both you and you have been debanked and I've been debanked Like, that's more than coincidence, right? I mean, this was happening to a lot of people that they didn't like. And so to crypto, like, why am I such an advocate of Bitcoin? Why am I such an advocate of blockchain and DeFi? I would love to see so many of these banks fail to exist.